Hello, and welcome to a short presentation from Virtualize Everything. I thought about going live for this presentation, but it's really too quick, and I don't actually have internet while I'm going through the process, so that would be rather difficult. So we moved our first server, the server that we affectionately call R710, after the model number of the server that we're using, to our new location here. So we're changing ISPs, and along with that, I've decided to change IP ranges. So the IP address range will be changing, which means that none of the configured systems are going to work together correctly. So I wanted to take you through a short video to show you guys how exactly I'm going to reconfigure R710 to have the same IP address as the new network, so that we can monitor and work from it. Now, this setup is going to get infinitely more complex as we move forward with this, and I'll take you through brief descriptions and videos about how we're doing that process. But today, I just need to get this server working on our current network so I can start communicating with it and moving backup files and other things as we tear down the other network and implement it here at the new location. So the first thing I needed to do as the IP address range was changing is to configure my system here, my Mac, but the core technique will stay the same. You're just going to have to use a few different options if you're using Windows or Linux. So I came here to the system preferences, and then I clicked on network. And I'm going to go to advanced and then TCP IP, and I'm going to configure the IP address of this system to be in the same IP range, 10.10.2, 254, well, 1 to 254, depending on what exactly you are. So it'll be a /24 network. But so I need to configure my system to be on that same subnet or IP range. And once that's done, I can click OK, and I can come over to my router and I can log into my server. Obviously, we have our server here. I did a little bit of testing before I started filming. But if I was going to go do it from scratch, that's how we would do it. So now we're able to log into our server, which is great and all, but it's still on the wrong IP address subnetwork. So I need to actually configure this system to work on the right IP subnet. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to find networks under our server. And then for our VMBR0 bridge, you can see the IP address and CIDR notations are right here. Now, note both our gateway will be changing as well as our IP address. I'm actually going to go back here because I haven't worked with this network enough and I sometimes forget what my gateway address and stuff is. All right, and then we're going to hit edit and we're going to change our gateway. And then we're going to give this system an IP address. Now, I kind of remember my settings I put into this router. I did configure things so that I won't have too much overlap. So that'll allow me to be outside of the DHCP assignment range with this server, but still well within it that we have plenty of working space for our VMs and other things as we set them up. We're not going to use VLANs right now or anything else, so we're pretty good here. We do want to make sure we remember the IP address to our server because we won't be able to log in for a little bit. Or log in with the old one, I should say. Then we're going to hit OK. And the process should automatically take. We refresh. It looks like it's going there. but we're still at the same IP address. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot this system now, and we'll return shortly to this video. Okay, I'm back. It doesn't look like we successfully did change the IP address, but I'm going to go ahead, reload, and see what happens here. So it looks like we're unable to connect there, which may actually mean that we're promising. IP addresses are still set. So let's go ahead and try the new IP address. And we actually didn't change, so that's not going to work either. We need to come in here, rid of that, and then turn back on DHCP, renew our lease. We're not using that range. We're not using that range. There we go. Did it assign now? It did. Okay. So now coming back over here, we should be able to reload and log back in, and we should be all set. Alrighty, so initially I didn't think that this worked because the splash screen on the boot up system, or the boot up splash screen that shows the IP address, didn't seem to have changed from the old IP address. But it looks like after reconfiguring our network and resetting up DHCP so our network is in the right subnet address scheme, that our system did indeed take the new IP address, and we are able to load in with the new management console. Now, I'm sure some of these containers and stuff that you see running in the background here are not on the correct IP address scheme, and we're going to have to go through and reconfigure them. But that's for another video and a little bit later of a project for myself today. Is all that needs to be done to reconfigure each one of them. I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation about what is happening at Virtualize Everything and about how we reconfigure a Proxmox server with a new IP address.